Hey, Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
वालेकुम
Walaikum
अस्सलाम.
assalam.
This is Abdul Rahman here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so just one second. Okay, so basically, Alhamdulillah, Hamid Bhai gave me the opportunity to speak about fitness, and I'll be introducing my program. I've started my own setup, Qawi Functional Fitness, and the idea is that basically there's a lot of information out there. You'll find experts on, exercise, on breathing, on all these different aspects of health. The problem is that it's not coming together. Like, I feel that you'll find people who teach you about sleeping, but then they won't connect that with good breathing. Or, for example, you'll find people who are talking about exercise, right? But they're not telling you that you shouldn't exercise late because that impacts or that harms your sleep schedule. So basically, after years of research, following a lot of experts, I came up with this program. The idea is to look at the most important foundational knowledge that we need for a healthy life. Okay, so what is holistic fitness? I think I already explained it. Basically, the idea is that we need to have balance. We can't focus too much on one thing and then expect results. Like if we think that only having a good diet will make us healthy, and then we don't have good posture or we don't exercise much, then we're kind of like fooling ourselves. We have to be more balanced. We have to make sure that all the different aspects are covered. For example, we need to be active. We need to sleep well, and these are all things that throughout history, right? These are things that came naturally, but now in our modern lifestyles, all of these things are just really jumbled up now, and we see a lot of chaos now. So one of the biggest reasons for that is because a lot of things are commercialized. That's why I feel like this program, is very important. This holistic program, basically, it doesn't have to be mine, but any program, even if it's your own, the idea that should be that you should cover all the different aspects. You should understand all of them, and then apply them to your life. Um, one important thing, obviously, is for this Simply Muslim group in specific, is that a lot of people here are trying to plan to move to the countryside, right? So this program will make a lot of sense because it'll give you that physical strength, that physical fitness you need to be able to move there. Our goal is obviously not to move there and then, rely on all the modern conveniences we had in cities because that would defeat the purpose, right? Our goal has been to, to be able to walk long distances, to be able to live without uh, constant air conditioning, etc. Right? So for that, we need to be ready. We need to be physically fit. I feel like a lot of us have, alhamdulillah, become mentally fit in this community. What's lacking right now is a physical fitness, and that's where this program comes in. It helps reduce dependency on modern conveniences, and then especially for the sake of our children, because when our children also who are being born and raised in these modern conveniences, when they move to the countryside, we need to give them the right habits. We need to set the right habits. Otherwise, they'll be asking for the same stuff that they were getting in the cities, right? Like, what's the purpose? What's the benefit if our children can't survive walking on foot for 1 mile, even if they moved to the countryside? So that's why this program is very important for all of us. And then the other thing is that most of the information out there, unfortunately, it's all monetized. The idea is to make money off of us, right? Like you'll find a lot of websites that will give you a lot of information, but then they're trying to sell you protein powder. And I was a victim of that myself. And I followed that for several years. And, every time an article would come, they would say, oh, this is what you have to do to be fit. And to be fit, you need protein powders. So the idea behind it, the intentions behind them giving you information is to sell you something, So a lot of the information out there is tricky, So that's why I want everyone to have this foundational knowledge, which helps them decide, okay, is this, actually good knowledge? Is this actually going to help me or not? And then obviously, I guess we already all know this, but like, we're preparing for tough times to come, especially with, the Dajjal, etc. So not everyone is obviously part of Simply Muslims group who's joining this. So you guys, if it doesn't make sense to you, then that's fine. But basically, one hadith that I felt would be very important here as well. Just one second. So I just wanted to recite this here. This is a hadith from the Prophet, peace be upon him. He will come to the people and call them to his disobedience. And this is he's the Holy Prophet is talking about Dajjal. And they will affirm their faith in him and respond to him. He will then give command to the sky, and it will send its rain upon the earth. And he will send this command to the earth, and it will grow vegetation. So think about, weather manipulation, etc. That's happening right now. Then in the evening, their pasturing animals will come to them with their humps very high, and their udders full of milk, and their flanks stretched. He will then come to another people and invite them. And this is talking about Muslims, right? But they will reject him, and he will leave them in barren lands and without any goods and chattels. So the reason I wanted to say this is because we need to reduce our dependency on, these modern conveniences and this modern lifestyle. And for that, we need to be strong, and we need to realize that we have a lot of potential in our human body, and it all comes naturally. So a lot of things that we're told, we need certain supplements or we need this or that. Again, it's all monetized. We don't necessarily need these things. If we live a natural lifestyle and we understand what it means to live a natural lifestyle, then we won't be dependent on certain international donors, for example. We won't be dependent on the wrong kind of parties. Okay, so to start off with now, breathing. So when we breathe, right, like how many? Just a question for people: how many breaths do you guys think we take in a day?
Mm, no idea.
Any guess at all?
10,000?
10,000. That's actually a pretty good guess. It's 20,000. We take 20,000 breaths a day on average, and that's about 2,000 gallons of air that we're breathing in. So that's a lot of breathing we're doing, right? And imagine if you're breathing the wrong way 20,000 times a day, right? So the issue is that a lot of our focus has become on exercise and nutrition, but we're not realizing the foundation, right? What do we do the moment we're born? We breathe, right? How long can we live without breathing? For 2 minutes, that's it. That foundation breathing, where it's all messed up for us. So we need to fix our breathing. So that brings a big question that normally a lot of people, even the workshop I've attended for Buteyko, etc., I've noticed that a lot of breathing experts, they get one big question, one very similar question. It's why do we need to fix our breathing? Like, shouldn't we just breathe naturally the way it comes to us? Why should we disrupt our natural processes? The problem is that we're not living in a natural environment anymore. We have smog around us. We're extremely anxious. That anxiety increases our breathing rate. We start breathing from the chest. We don't breathe normally anymore because what's happening is that we're activating our flight or fight response. And when for example, if someone takes a knife out on you, right? All of a sudden you have this increase in adrenaline, right? So your body is utilizing maximum resources to make sure that you save yourself. That's the flight or fight response, right? So what if you have that activated all the time? So now your body is trying to utilize maximum resources all the time. So that's what happens when they're anxious all the time. So that's why we need to start relaxing more, right? But that's not possible because you look at your phone and you have 10 more messages from your boss and you have 10 more clients that are waiting for you, or you look at the newspaper and you have these wars going on between different countries, and then you don't have to look at anything and you just go out to buy something and then you find out that the price has increased by 25%, right? So we're living in very anxious times right now. um, the other thing why breathing has become a challenge is because we have extremely weak jaws. There are certain reasons for that. One thing is that children are no longer breastfed. So breastfeeding is extremely important for developing the jaws of our children. That's one issue. And then the other is that we're eating soft foods ourselves as well, and especially our children. They're growing up on baby food. They don't want to bite, they don't want to chew anymore. So we stopped chewing as much, and that's resulted in weak jaws. And when we have weak jaws, when we have a weak structure, then it impacts our breathing as well. And then processed foods as well. So processed foods, they're very acidic in nature, and acidic foods also disrupt our breathing. So because of all these reasons, and I can go on why our breathing is all messed up, right? And what are the symptoms of bad breathing? How do you know if you're breathing bad? For one, you'll be breathing from your mouth. it'll be hard for you to consistently breathe through your nose. Like everyone can breathe through your nose, but when they're walking up the stairs, they're not able to. When they're having a conversation, they have to breathe through their mouth, etc. So that's one symptom. The other thing is irregular breathing. Again, for example, if you walk a little bit, now you're breathing too hard. So that's irregular breathing, harsh breathing. So, for example, like, do you get what I mean? Like when you're breathing in too hard. So again, your body, for example, you have a laptop, right? And if you hear the fan of your laptop, going really fast, you immediately get concerned that, oh, something's wrong with my laptop. Or for example, if you're sitting in your car and the engine is acting up, right? You feel like something's wrong. The same way your body, right? Like you don't want to put too much pressure on it, especially all the time. So harsh breathing is also not good for us. And then there's chest breathing, breathing up to the chest, not letting it go all the way deep into the lungs, and over breathing, which means you're just breathing too much. Like you're breathing a lot. You're breathing through your mouth every time you speak, etc. So these are the common symptoms of bad breathing. Um, how do we fix them? So first of all, the big misconception that I want to talk about, and I won't get into this slide into specific because it covers a lot of science, and I want to keep this very simple and layman. Basically, we've come to the concept that we need more and more oxygen. We think that the more oxygen that we have, the healthier we are. But here's a question for all of you, right? Is overeating good for you? Do you think that there's a lot of health? Khajurs are very healthy, right? Dates, or for example, milk is. If you eat, if you drink 10 glasses of milk a day, are you then healthier than by having one? Does that make sense? Or for example, sorry, we're getting something in chat. Yeah, okay. So basically, what's happening is that we are over breathing, just like we are overeating, we're over breathing, right? And we apply the same concepts in different areas. Like some people, not all, most of us aren't exercising. Some people are over exercising, and what that is that it actually reduces their testosterone levels. That's really bad for us as well. So we need to understand the concept that breathing also has its own balance. Allah has designed us a certain way, and in that certain way, carbon dioxide plays a very vital role. Carbon dioxide actually has several extremely important functions in our body. One of them is that it helps to pass on oxygen to our cells in our body. Okay, so when people say, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I thought you just have to breathe more, you just have to breathe deeper," but that's not true. You have to learn to breathe less, and when you breathe less, it builds up carbon dioxide in your body, and that's very important. Okay, so that's one concept I wanted to clarify to start off with. Okay, so what happens when you breathe properly? It pretty much, in a nutshell, it changes your life. I think this is the most important thing. That's why I think this is always the very first thing to work on. If everything else is, not good in your life in terms of health, if you can just work on your breathing, it will probably bring the biggest impact. It'll improve your sleep because when you're breathing properly, now your body can relax and focus. When you're sleeping, your body is meant to repair, right? So, but if you're breathing improperly, if you eat too much food and your body is not in a relaxed state while sleeping, then it won't get the best benefits from that sleep state. So it'll improve your sleeping, and then you'll be less anxious. Because when you breathe properly, when you slow down, like I talked about before, it'll reduce your anxiety. Related to that is that it will activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Again, it's the opposite of the fight or flight response. It's when you're relaxed, and then it'll increase your energy as well. So a lot of people have this concept that eating food is what gives you energy. Actually, proper breathing gives you way more energy than you can imagine. So it's actually a misconception again and again. One of the reasons for that is because we're trying to monetize it, right? Like if I tell you that eating this and that will give you more energy, right? And then I'm selling something, it's easier to sell that. But if I tell you just once, hey, learn to breathe properly, that's it. Forever, you have the key to increase energy, right? So that's why this stuff isn't as popular. You know, it's not. There's not as much information. There's not as much on YouTube, etc., on breathing for these reasons. And then also mindfulness. When you breathe, what it does is that when you focus on your breathing, it takes you away from your emotions and it lets you focus on your breathing. So you then realize that you are not just that person, but you are inside a vessel that Allah has given you. So it kind of gives you this kind of mindfulness as well. A lot of mindfulness books focus specifically on breathing. Okay, so there are two fundamental things about breathing that I'll be talking about. And then after when we finish breathing, then I'll take questions as well before we move on to the next aspect. So there's nose breathing, nasal breathing. Okay. Basically, you want to breathe through your nose at all times. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. Even when you're talking, like when I'm talking right now, I'm constantly breathing in through my nose. And obviously when I'm talking, I'm breathing out. Naturally, breath is coming out from my mouth. But in general, you want to breathe out through your nose as well. Why the nose? The nose is basically a natural filter. When you breathe into your nose, the air is moistened, okay, it's warmed up, and then it's mixed with a gas called nitric oxide, which is produced in the nasal passages, and it helps to protect the body from viruses and germs. So basically, the nose is a natural filter. You know how you filter water, right? And then you drink that water, thinking that you're removing contaminants, right? In the same way, the nose is going to remove those contaminants and allow cleaner air to come into your system. Okay, so that's why the nose is the key for breathing. Mouth breathing has a lot of issues. One, obviously, it's the opposite of nose breathing, so it'll dry your throat. The air is going to be colder. It's going to be drier. The other thing is that when you breathe through your mouth, it evaporates the saliva in your mouth, right? So when your saliva evaporates, then actually your saliva protects your teeth, so it causes tooth decay as well. So that's another issue with mouth breathing. And then the biggest issue, can you all see my cursor? Can you see the mouse?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you look over here, when you breathe through your mouth, what happens is that your face narrows. And I'm going to ask you to all just do this right now. Can you all just open your mouth? Okay, and try to just focus on the weight of the bottom of your jaw just for a few seconds. So there's a weight. Your jaw has weight. Okay. Now, what will happen if you keep your mouth open for an hour? That weight it will start pulling your face down, and it'll start creating a narrow face like this. This is especially important for children. I think before the age of 10, if you can fix this, then children will develop a natural broad face. But if not, then they'll develop a narrow face. And what's the problem with a narrow face? It creates crooked teeth. Your teeth do not have as much space because now your jaws are narrower, and then that causes a lot of issues, a lot of dental issues. Also, it narrows your airways, so it makes it harder to breathe in properly as well. So that's why you need to be breathing through your nose. It's the proper structure. It's all about mechanics. So how do you breathe properly? Getting to that, you basically close your mouth. It's obviously very obvious. You want to make sure that your teeth are touching each other, but they're not clenching. Like it's not like you're angry. You just want them to touch each other. Okay. And your tongue needs to be touching the roof of the top of your mouth. Does that make sense to everyone? So basically, your teeth are touching, right? The bottom and top teeth, and your tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. Okay. So that's basically how you're supposed to breathe at all times. Okay. And obviously, like if you're an athlete, etc., and you need to breathe, or for example, I'm not saying like you're gonna pass out, keep breathing through your nose, but like let's say that 95% of the time you should be breathing through your nose. Okay. So one issue which you face when you start breathing only through your nose is that your nose will be blocked. You'll notice that, oh, my nose is blocked. I can't breathe through it properly. The reason for that is that because for years and years and years of not breathing through the nose properly, it's not functioning properly. And so it'll take some time for it to develop that habit again. And it can take a long time as well. It can be pretty frustrating. So there are a few techniques that you can use. One is breathing techniques. I won't be able to cover that because that probably requires a workshop. But what you can do is that you can use sarson ka tel, mustard seed oil. Take your pinky, just rub your pinky in some mustard seed oil, and then rub it into your nostrils, and then go to sleep. When you wake up, you'll feel that your nose is going to be, a lot less clogged. So that's one thing that can help. The other thing that you can do is take some water, boil it, and then when it cools down, add some salt or baking soda, or ideally both. And then when you mix it, then you know how you do wudu, right? You just close one nostril and then you just blow it into your nostril, and then you can do that a couple of times. Um, the other way to do that is just to buy. I'm not going to recommend a neti pot. I haven't found any in Pakistan. People abroad they can use neti pots, or you can just buy a nasal spray bottle. You just use an old one, clean it up thoroughly, and then add that solution, and you can also just use that. But the idea is that this will help unclog your nose, and it'll help you to breathe through your nose at all times. And you'll notice that maybe after a month or so, you won't need it anymore. Your nose will just be naturally unclogged. Okay, the biggest challenge for breathing through your nose is breathing during speech. And what I've found, on how to improve that, the biggest thing is you slow down your speech, which is actually a very good thing if we think about it, because then it actually lets people process what we're saying. It lets us process what we're saying as well. It creates natural pauses, which is maybe better for our speech as well. So basically, what you do is you use fewer words, and then you take a small breath into your nose, and then you use fewer words. And this will take some practice, but I definitely think this is doable. I'm doing it myself. Plenty of people do it. So it's one thing that you can work on. And then over time, as you get used to if you see right here, red thing right here, this is what I'm using to show it, the diaphragm. So when you breathe, it's basically you breathe to your stomach. It's the simplest way to explain it is that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, but I think for the last few minutes, we couldn't hear anything.
Sorry.
The
Was it
fundamentals
from
of
this?
breathing, ये जो is the slide you're on currently, इसका जो भी आपने start किया था ना,
Acha,
वो
acha.
we couldn't hear.
Okay. Okay. So then I'll start again with diaphragmatic breathing. So we're done with the last slide, though, right? We don't have to repeat that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Last couple of minutes.
Okay. Okay, so like I was saying, what is the diaphragm? The very first question. So the diaphragm is and I'm going to speak in layman terms. I'm not going to get too complicated. The diaphragm is a muscle that sits between the chest and the abdomen. So think about it being right here, okay, between the chest and the abdomen. So when you breathe in and your lungs are filled with air, the diaphragm goes down, and you breathe out, then the diaphragm goes up, okay? So basically, the diaphragm is used for breathing. It helps in our breathing, and what we want to do for breathing is breathe deeply. So, but what does that mean? Does deep breathing mean to take a very big amount of air and breathe it in? That's the kind of the problem with the word deep breathing. A lot of people think that that's what it means, that you have to take a lot of air and just go all the way in, right? And that's what they're also teaching in yoga, etc. But actually, what deep breathing means is that you breathe deep into your lungs. It's maybe the better word for it is belly breathing. You know, so what you're imagining is that your air is going all the way down to your belly. So why is that important? Because if you breathe just to your chest, and again, if you can focus on my cursor, if you breathe just to your chest, right, then you're not letting air, especially fresh air, go all the way through your lungs. That's one issue. And the other thing is that most of the blood vessels that are responsible for transferring oxygen to your body and to your cells are in the bottom of your lungs. So if you're breathing just to your chest, then you're not allowing that benefit. You're not allowing the maximum exchange of oxygen to your body. Okay, so it's not fresh air, and you're just not getting that much oxygen in the first place. So that's why you should breathe deeply. Okay, so we're gonna practice this. So I'm gonna now turn on my video really quickly, and I'm going to show you all, if you all can just practice with me. Just give me 1 second. Okay, can you all see me? Okay, perfect. Okay, so what you're gonna do now is you're gonna place one hand on your chest, okay, and then one right here on your stomach, okay, right above your navel, your belly button, right? Okay, and one right in the middle of your chest, okay? So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna breathe into your stomach, okay? Breathe in a couple of times. Now, is your chest moving? If you can look down, ideally this is done in front of a mirror. Is your chest moving when you're doing this? That's the main question. So you can look down as well and just see. So normally when I'm breathing, I notice that my chest is not moving at all. Okay, so basically that's how you're supposed to breathe. Only your, and you can take side view as well, only your uh, abdomen area, your stomach is supposed to fill up with air and then it goes out. So can people tell me, are they able to breathe without their chest moving? Hamid I can, Sana can't, anyone else? Belly is moving more than chest. Okay, so you're basically your chest is moving a little bit and your belly is moving as well. Okay, so most people for them, they are breathing, they're using both the chest and the belly. You know, it's hard for people. A lot of people breathe just through the chest, especially people who are living very stressful lives. But people who aren't living stressful lives, maybe, or I think everyone's living stressful lives, but maybe they're relatively less stressful lives, or who are a little more calmer, they won't be using the chest and the belly as well. So what we need to learn to do is to just focus on breathing through the belly. And how you do that is just through breathing exercises. Yes, perfect. Hamid by saying he's practiced belly breathing. The way to do it is just to practice. You just have to keep practicing it. And in my next slide now, I'll go back to our presentation. I'll show you basically what kind of practice you can do. One second. Okay, so there are several different breathing exercises that you can do to help improve your, breathing rate, to help improve your belly breathing, to help make sure that you're breathing through your nose. One thing right off the bat, if anyone can learn the Buteyko method, that's ideal. It's a little expensive, it's a little costly. So that's one thing that you'll have to. He has his own program called the Oxygen Advantage. It's an excellent, program as well. And then you can use that as well. Guys, can you hear me now?
Yes, we lost you when you started talking about expenses.
Talking about, sorry.
वो जो आप कहते थे ना खरीदना पड़ेगा कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी पड़ेगी, so we
Acha,
lost
acha,
you there.
yeah. Okay, yes. So basically what I was saying that Buteyko fully. So if you can afford it, if you're really invested in this, then I would say you learn the Buteyko method fully. I intend to do that myself as well, inshallah. But if not, then you can follow any expert who knows about the Buteyko method. I would highly recommend that. And there's a lot of them out there. Like I was talking about the guy who I'm following, Patrick McCown. He has his own program called Oxygen Advantage, and it's for athletes. And it all teaches a lot of the basic Buteyko principles as well. You can buy books on breathing, etc. Basically, what you have to look into, whatever breathing exercise you're doing, that's great. You've been following for a while. Yeah, I mean, if you can read his book, The Oxygen Advantage, it'll do wonders for your breathing. The idea is to increase the amount of, the oxygenation of your body, and it works conversely. The way you do that is by increasing your body's tolerance to carbon dioxide. Okay, So common themes that you need to look at, no matter what breathing exercise you use, even if you just go to YouTube and you learn a couple of breathing exercises to start off with, you don't overbreathe. That's the number one thing. There's a lot of misinformation out there about breathing in, very deeply and then taking a lot of breath and stuff. Wim Hof has his method, if people want to ask about that, and that's fine. That's actually following a traditional method as well. And that's the kind of exercise where he overbreathes. That's something different. Navy SEALs, I think, use that as well. But in general, what I'm talking about is in general in life, you don't want to be overbreathing. Okay, so the other thing is you want to slow in your breath. You don't want to breathe in harshly. You want to take a very slow breath in. It needs to be calm and relaxed. It shouldn't be putting pressure on your body. And then you breathe out slowly. So you kind of extend that breath. And again, what this does is it helps to uh, reduce the amount of oxygen you're taking in at a time. It needs to be soft and silent. Again, like what I said, like you don't want to be breathing like that. It'll be silent. No one will know that you're breathing. It's kind of like you're a ghost. And then posture is the other thing. You need to have good posture, because if you don't have good posture, if you try sitting to the side and try breathing in properly, it just wouldn't work. So having good posture when you're breathing is very important as well. A couple of exercises that you can look up on YouTube that I'll recommend is box breathing. For example, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold. And then you can do this for like, say, 15 minutes a day. So this will allow you to, develop your mindfulness practice as well as building your better breathing practice as well, or breathing habits. The other one is 4-7-8. So what this is you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8 seconds. This one can be a little harder, but I mean, honestly, within a couple of days, you'll get the hang of it. And these exercises are actually great for before you go to sleep as well. They'll calm you down. Again, like I said, they'll engage the parasympathetic nervous system. And what that'll help you do is that'll help you go to sleep in a much calmer state. I would recommend breathing practices in the morning and in the evening. Okay, so that's all about breathing. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to posture? Yes. Farah?
जी मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है
जी जी
You can ask first and then I'll go.
जज़ाकल्लाह। मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि आपने जब ये बताया था ना ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज जो आपने चेस्ट पे और बेली पे हाथ रख के बताया था, तो मुझे क्लियर नहीं हुआ था कि हमारा बेली और चेस्ट दोनों मूव करना चाहिए। आई कुड नॉट फॉलो यू क्लियरली ना, तो इसको अगर
अच्छा।
आप थोड़ा सा रिपीट कर।
जी जी बेसिकली आपका सिर्फ बेली जो है ना, सिर्फ वो हिलना चाहिए, चेस्ट नहीं हिलना चाहिए। बट नेचुरली होता क्या है कि ज्यादातर लोगों के लिए वो चेस्ट और बेली दोनों हिलते हैं। तो अगर सिर्फ चेस्ट हिल रहा है वो तो बहुत ही गलत है। अगर दोनों हिल रहे हैं, विच इज मोस्ट पीपल, वो जो नॉर्म है ना, एवरेज में लोगों का चेस्ट और बेली दोनों हिल रहा होगा। तो आपने टारगेट ये करना है कि आपको सिर्फ बेली हिल रहा हो। और अगर मेरी स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है सबको, इस सबको प्रेजेंटेशन नजर आ रही है? मैं एक बार ना चलिए मैं स्क्रीन के बगैर ही वैसे बता देता हूँ। जो आपके साइड्स है ना, ओब्लिक्स, आपके एब्स के साइड्स, आपने इमेजिन करना है कि एक यहाँ पे 2 बलून्स हैं जो कि फिलअप हो रहे हैं, सांस अंदर ले रहे हैं। तो आपके जो ये जो साइड्स पे 2 बलून्स फिलअप हो रहे हैं। या दूसरा आप ये इमेजिन कर सकते हैं कि आपका जो बैक है ना, कमर पे एक बलून है और वो फिलअप हो रहा है। तो उसका एडवांटेज ये होता है कि आप विजुलाइज कर रहे होते हैं और आपको ना, आपके फिर जो बॉडी है उसके मुताबिक आप उसको यूज कर रहे होते हैं। और मैंने जिन लोगों के साथ ये प्रैक्टिस किया हुआ है, वो डेफिनेटली कहते हैं जब आप इसको विजुलाइज करते हैं तो इमीडिएटली जो है ना, आप जहां आप चाहते हैं कि आपका सांस जाए, वो एग्जैक्टली वहीं जाता है। ठीक है, डज दैट मेक सेंस?
नहीं, इसको दोबारा से एक दफा रिपीट करें। लेकिन हमें जो टारगेट अचीव करना है कि ओनली आवर बेली शुड बी मूविंग एंड नॉट द चेस्ट, तो ये अचीव करने का जो तरीका आपने बताया, इसको एक दफा ब्रीफली रिपीट कर दें।
जी 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 एक में ये है कि आपके जो बेली है ना, बेली के साइड्स में हवा भर रहा है। जिस तरह यहाँ पे 2 बलून्स हैं साइड पे और उनमें हवा भर रहा है। ठीक है, आप अभी ट्राई भी कर सकती हैं कि आपके ना, जब आप सांस ले रही हैं, अब आपका बेली बटन है ना, बेली बटन के साइड्स पे राइट और लेफ्ट पे इमेजिन करेंगे 2 बलून्स हैं
जी जी, आई एम
और उनमें,
फॉलोइंग यू साइमल्टेनियसली ना, तो
जी जी
आप कंटिन्यू कर लें।
ठीक है, और उसमें ना उन 2 बलून्स में हवा भर रहा है। ठीक हो गया? तो एक ये
जी
तरीका
जी
है, दूसरा ये तरीका है कि अब आप इमेजिन करें आपको जो लोअर बैक है ना, स्पाइन से थोड़ा सा ऊपर, वहां पे एक बलून है और उसमें हवा भर रहा है, ठीक है। तो इन दोनों तरीकों
जी
से ना
जी
आपको आदत पड़ेगी कि आपका चेस्ट ना मूव कम करेगा और आपके बेली से ज्यादा मूवमेंट। ठीक हो गया।
जी थैंक यू जजाकल्ला।
अच्छा, और आई थिंक फरा आपका क्वेश्चन था। You had a question?
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I just wanted to ask, your mouth taping technique here, which Patrick McKeown advocates, how long should we do that to see a difference? What's your take on that?
Okay, so basically, everyone has a different oxygenation level. So basically,
Mhm,
it all depends on where your fitness is. Because I'm an athlete, I'm already in shape. So what
mhm.
happens when you're already exercising? You're already developing some level of good breathing habits. So
Okay.
when I had to learn his techniques, it took me a shorter time. Okay, and
Right.
basically, if you read his book, The Oxygen Advantage, what he
Yeah.
talks about is that there's different levels, right? You have to get to Bolt 40. Bolt is blood
Hmm.
oxygen
Yeah.
level test. So if you're really inactive, you'll probably be less than 10. You know, and then if you're relatively active, you'll be between 10 to 20. So when I started,
Hmm.
I was about 16. Now I'm
Hmm.
at about 24, and I'm not really rigorously following his methods. I'm following it maybe twice or thrice a day. So it
Right.
works pretty fast. And
Mhm.
what he claims is that within 6 months, you'll be at both 40. You know, so
Right.
I think you can
Yeah.
achieve that. I think that's very easily
Yeah.
achievable if you're following it, if not even
Right.
every
Yeah.
day, even if you're just achieving following it 4 times a day, I think that's more than enough.
Mm. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.
Okay, so that's it. Can we move on to posture? Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Please.
आपने बताया था कि when we do exercise, तो we don't have to exercise as much as we do. But when we do exercise, so if your aim is endurance and stamina, so obviously you have to breathe a lot, right? For instance, if you're walking for 10 kilometers or jogging for 10 kilometers, so obviously your आपकी breathing मतलब बढ़ जाती है when your heart rate is also higher, like maybe if it touches 177, 180. So then then how do you go about this breathing, because you will breathe a lot. So वो जो oxygen की बात आप बता रहे थे, तो फिर how will we fit all of this in?
So basically, we have a fear mechanism. What happens is that when our breath rate increases, right, and now we're running out of breath, right? So we have a fear mechanism that maybe we'll faint, or we're running out of breath. But actually, it's not nothing more than a fear mechanism. Especially for exercise. What happens is that when you control your breathing, it'll take 3 breaths maybe maximum, and then your heart will start stabilizing. And what happens then is that over time you'll realize is that actually I don't really need that many breaths to calm my breathing down. Does that make sense? So that's one thing. That's about, for example, if you were running, right, and now you stopped, and now you have to take these big breaths. So give yourself 3 breaths. By the fourth breath, you can just start calming down, or start taking small breaths from your nose again, and you'll realize that your body will adjust itself. So rather than you having to adjust, right, to what you think is the best thing, your body will adjust itself. And what happens again, like our body has a lot of potential. We can, like with very little oxygen, we can survive a long time. So we think that we're running out of breath and we need it, but we don't necessarily need it. Maybe that's just our habit, right, of overbreathing, and then that's kicking in, that we need more and more air. That's that misconception kicking in. Whereas actually we don't really need that much air. Does that make sense?
So then जब हम exercise कर रहे होते हैं, so how will we breathe so that we breathe in the right way, especially if the exertion of that exercise is more, यानी आपकी मतलब whether it's endurance or whether it's like muscle building exercises, तो फिर like what would be the proper way to breathe?
Achha, the thing I've started practicing, and even my clients that I'm training, the one thing I've told them is that uh, your breath will tell you how far you are along. So if your body is not ready, If you need to breathe through your mouth after 5 minutes, that means that maybe you're not ready. Maybe you're forcing your body to exercise more than it can. So maybe you need to slow down. For example, I used to run, and I used to like when running, I used to sprint in the middle of my runs, and then I would run again, and then I would sprint, and I would do this for about 15 minutes, but it required me to breathe through my mouth, right? So what Patrick McCown and other Buteyko experts will tell you is that what that means is that you're over pushing your body and you should slow down. You should maybe start going towards jogging or even brisk walking. So then I went back to brisk walking and I started breathing only through my nose. And even that, like if you just try doing that, just try breathing through your nose and brisk walk for 20 minutes. It'll be a different sensation, something that you've never felt before. So basically, does that make sense? Your level, maybe you're working harder than you should be. So maybe you should relax your exercises and build up according to uh, how much you can breathe through your nose. But having said that, that might be a little complicated for you to do because uh, you have to learn a lot about breathing to be able to apply these methods. Does that make sense? Like, um, when do you know to take the next step, etc. Attending a workshop will be much better. Obviously, I'm just doing an information session where I'm giving you the basic knowledge. I would highly recommend reading The Oxygen Advantage, getting more into this, and then aligning your breathing with your exercise. That'll give you the most benefits. Does that make sense?
Jazakallah khair. Yes, does.
Okay, so can we move on to posture? Okay, I think we can. Okay, so posture is one thing that, anytime I talk about posture with people, either they immediately say, yes, I have terrible posture, or they immediately pick their chest up and puff it out and say, just naturally, that, thinking that that's what good posture is. Posture is a very misunderstood concept. It's all about body alignment. We'll get into that really, in more detail. But one thing I want you to imagine is a house, right? And the gray structure of a house. The most important thing for a house is having solid foundation, right? When you have that solid foundation, then you can build a skyscraper, right? So, in the same way, posture is that key, is that foundation upon which the rest of your body sits. Uh, when you have good posture, then that's what allows good breathing. Like if you have bad posture, if you're slumping forward, etc., all this stuff I told you, breathing just won't be possible. Also, if you had bad posture, if you, for example, you're sleeping on your stomach, right, and that puts strain on your neck, then again, that's not good posture. It won't allow for a good night's sleep. And then for the next one, good digestion. So think about an engine, right? Every part in its proper place. Every, even down to every wire has its place, right? So that engine, it's everything has its compartment. And what happens when everything in its proper place? Then that engine is working properly. In the same way, our organs in our body, right? They all have their proper place. So if you don't have good posture, if you're slumping, for example, right, all of your organs are crushed together. So that really impacts your digestion. The other thing is, again, talking about foundations, good movement, good fitness requires you to have good posture. But there's a big misconception. We think that we can work out for 1 hour, and then for 23 hours we can have bad posture, and then it'll make up for all of that time. So it just won't work that way. We'll be forcing our body. And what normally happens then is that we get injured. Most of the injuries that I've experienced, a lot of athletes experience, is that they work out really hard but they don't have good posture throughout the day, and then they get injured because of that. Uh, Last thing, aging gracefully. If you don't have good posture, you won't be able to age gracefully. You'll get pains in your knee, in your back. You won't be able to pick stuff up. So posture is extremely, extremely important. It's probably the most, unappreciated thing out of fitness. Okay, so what are the fundamentals of posture? The very first thing, like what I've already brought up before, it's not something you can just do for 1 hour. You can't just think about posture for 1 hour and then that's it. It's a lifestyle. There's a quote I'll talk about, and then I'll tie it to this picture to your left. We tend to think that this is what relaxing looks like these kids right here leaning, their necks aren't straight, etc. But this kind of distortion puts considerable stress on the body, forcing some muscles to work hard just to compensate for this lack of underlying support. So Kathleen Porter, she's one of the leading experts in posture. What she's trying to say here is that when you're sitting in these certain ways, right, leaning, etc. So one thing is you're weakening certain parts of your body, such as your core. The other thing is that you're causing muscle imbalances. Like if you always sit on your left side, right, then your left side will get weaker. So these are the kind of things that then all of a sudden what happens is that you'll pick up something from the floor and you'll feel pain in your back. Or you'll be walking and you'll say, oh, my foot's hurting. This stuff isn't really happening because of exercise. This stuff is happening because you have bad posture. That's why posture is more important than exercise, actually, if you're talking about longevity and long-term health. And that's why if you go to the mountains, for example, right, people there, they don't necessarily need to exercise. They just walk the right way. They have good posture. They have straight backs. And that's why even into their 70s, they're walking mountains. A few things about posture. The best postures are the ones that are indigenous, meaning that they follow tribes all the way dating back to the beginning of mankind. So they're not using sofas and couches, and they're not using any devices to fix your posture. There's nowadays a lot of people are using these um, like kind of these straps that you put on your back to keep your back straight. The problem is that now you're not utilizing the muscles to keep your back straight. So you're going to be even more reliant on those kind of devices. And then traditional, even if we're not talking about indigenous tribes, even if we're just talking about traditional societies, even if we talk about our own Punjab, right? You go back 300 years, people did not have sofas to sit on. They were sitting on the floor. So again, best postures are found in areas that have traditional lifestyles and natural lifestyles. And what I was talking about before, we have to believe in the potential of our human body. We don't need external things. We don't need these couches. We don't need these, special posture cushions to give us good posture. We just need to learn the mechanics of our body, and that's it. And it all comes down to natural alignment. If you look at this picture right here, uh, the shoulders are aligned, they're symmetrical. And if you look over here as well, and then if you look over here in this picture, sorry, I'm moving from one to the next really quickly. You'll see that the shoulders are aligned with the pelvic, which is when then goes down, is aligned with the knees and then with the feet. So it's all about being symmetrical. That's natural alignment, because it's a concept called stacking. Your ankles bear the most weight. They bear all of the weight of your body, actually. And then from there, it goes to your knees. From there, it goes to your pelvic. From there, it goes to your rib cage. And from there, it goes to your head. So if all of your muscles are stacked, right? Or sorry, all your joints are stacked, then you won't get tired. You won't be relying on your muscles to keep you up. And that's the same concept with buildings as well, with pillars, etc. One pillar over the other, right? Stacking. So we're kind of learning from nature and then applying this to our own constructions as well. One second.
कितने कितने पैसे
हाँ
कितने कितने पैसे
मैं भी करता हूँ आपको बताता हूँ अभी अच्छा
2004
ठीक है. So again, like I said, gravity, that's the key concept here. We don't want to be fighting gravity all the time. We want to be sitting in ways, we want to be using posture that is aligned with gravity. Okay, so now what are the fundamentals of posture? The very first thing is head alignment. How many people are looking all the way down like this when they're using their phones? Sorry, I can't really see the hands up or anything. Okay, if anyone could just speak out, like, is this something that you have a problem with? Not me, okay. Okay, so that's actually good. It's great if people don't. I've noticed a lot of children, especially, who are developing this habit where they look exactly down, like, straight down when they're using their phones. So we have to understand that our head is the size of a bowling ball. It's a lot of weight. And if you're putting all that weight down like this constantly, again and again, so it's putting pressure on your spine. And that's what weakens the spine. And that's what eventually causes backaches as well. So it's actually the head alignment that's causing pain in your lower back. That's just how the spine works. It's a very intricate, construction of that we have that Allah has made for us. And then like any imbalance anywhere in our knees, in our ankles, in our head can cause issues in our spine. So we have to make sure that we learn the correct placement of our heads. And I'll also be going through some exercises for that. Before I do all of that, I'm just going to talk about some of the issues that we have to look into. One thing is looking to the side for long periods. Like, for example, if you're at work, right, and someone sits next to you and you talk to them a lot and you always turn your head to the side, that'll create a lot of pain in your neck long term. So the best thing to do, and the sunnah as well is right, is to turn your body towards that person, look at them, and then turn straight again, right? So that's the kind of habits we need to develop. And then also sleeping in the wrong position, right? The Holy Prophet said, you know, to someone who was sleeping on their stomach, that they shouldn't be sleeping like that. Sleeping on the side, it's terrible for your neck because your neck is towards the right or to the left, and it's not aligned with your spine. So I'm gonna again, I think my screen is already showing. I'm just gonna stop sharing. Farah?
I'm sorry, that was
Right.
my mistake.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. Okay, so what is the correct placement of your head? So we'll just go through that really quickly. So I want everyone to please try this. If you can just look down, right? And your chin should be touching the top of your chest, right? You look down and then you look up. So the position that your head lands naturally is the ideal position that your head should be placed. So if you look at it from the side, you look down, you look up. This is where your head should be placed. Okay. The other way to do it is like this. Both are fine. Pull your head back and then let it go. And then where your head lands is that the natural position of your head on your shoulders. So if everyone just try that a couple of times just to get the hang of it, that'll help you, especially if you have issues with your head alignment. That'll really help you understand where your head should go. There are a few exercises that I'll quickly go through. If you ever feel neck pain, if you do feel that you're using, for example, you're on your phone and you're doing this a lot, or you're reading books and you're putting your head down a lot, the very first thing you need to do is take your phone and either pick it up, right? Keep it in front of you so that your head isn't falling down. Or the other thing you can do, because sometimes people think I'm taking a picture of them when I'm doing this, is that you can like keep your phone down. So it's not over here, next to your body, it's forward over here. So now your phone is still down, but because it's far away from you, you can just look down with your eyes rather than looking down with your head. This is something that we need to teach our children, because children who use their phones, all of them for some reason have the habit of looking like this, you know? So this is a really helpful advice. And then also same thing with books. You can use a stand for your books. Try to make sure that your book is either it's up or it's down a little far away from you rather than right underneath you, next to your body. Okay, the next thing, okay, exercises that you should be doing. Again, what I asked you all to do, and please try this with me, look down and now try to touch your chin on your upper chest and hold this. Actually, try to press your chin on your upper chest as well. Like you keep trying to press in. Do this for 5 to 10 seconds and then look up. You'll feel, a lot of engagement of your muscles over here on the back of your neck. So these are those muscles that are holding your neck up, holding you straight up. So that's what you want to do. You want to look down, do this 10 times. Another thing you can do, also these are very straightforward exercises. You push your hand against your head, and then you like try to push your head this way, but then with your neck, you're keeping yourself stable, right? So what this will do is that this will engage your neck muscles as well, especially from here. Right here, you'll feel this 5 seconds. What I love doing with any of my exercises is doing zikr with it as well. For example, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad, or Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illahu, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, lillahi alhamd. So I love doing that as well with my exercises rather than counting to 5, which can be pretty boring. I feel like this is something that you can do as well. Although some people might say that's multitasking and they might not like it. Um, so, but here you go, and then do the other side, and then you take your hands, and then you push your hands forward, and you pull your head back. So then this will work on your muscles, and then what you'll do is you'll take your hand, and you'll push your hands back and your head forward. So by doing this, you'll strengthen all of the muscles in your neck. Anyone who has neck pain, this is really, really great for them. In general as well, for athletes, doing a little bit of stretching for your neck is great to ensure that you don't get injured. Because a lot of times when you're playing sports, etc., when you're lifting heavy weights, you can maybe do something that causes, an impingement in your neck. Okay. Now moving on. So I talked about exercises and the hazards. So I'll share my screen again. Okay, by the way, if anyone has any questions, they can ask me in the middle as well.
I have a question about
जी जी
posture. अच्छा,
yeah.
इसमें जैसे हम जो sleeping position लिखी हुई है इसमें जो the one at the bottom is it says just right. So pillow होना कितना जरूरी है? Like if you're using your arm as a pillow, does that work or या वो सही नहीं है?
Acha, thank you. I actually forgot to mention that. So basically, pillows are not necessary. The whole concept is your spine should be aligned. There's not a lot of good content out there that I could use for these pictures. So this is what I could work with. But basically, what you don't want to use big pillows, and you don't want to use very soft pillows because they don't allow for proper alignment. Um, this is a good pillow because it's keeping your spine straight. But ideally, what I do is I use this kind of pillow as well, extremely thin, and then I use my shoulder to balance my head. So that's the ideal thing to do. I think that's also that natural baby position where your head is to the side and you're I think it's called a needle position. So yeah, ideal. This is a lot of people actually don't use pillows, and I've done that for a while as well. You don't necessarily have to do that, but use a pillow. But if you do, I think the best thing to use is use a very thin one. So actually, this picture is misleading. So thank you very much for pointing that out.
अच्छा, one more
जी
question. Sorry.
जी
If you're using a computer and you're sitting on a desk, so इस picture में भी there are different kinds of chairs. So which one would be better? जैसे अब जो है वो curved backs आती हैं, they say कि that is better for your back. But should a straight जैसा just straight back हो वो बेहतर होगा या something that is a bit curved?
Acha, the thing we have to understand is that the people making our chairs, वो posture के experts नहीं है. Unfortunately, वो chairs बनाने के experts हैं. आपको समझ आ रही है मेरी बात? मसला सारा यहाँ आ जाता है कि हम लोग जो गाड़ियां बना रहे हैं, गाड़ियों की जो सीट्स हैं, वो कंफर्ट ढूंढ रहे हैं आपके लिए, ठीक है, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि ये बिकता है, ठीक है, वो आपके पॉस्चर के लिए आइडियल चीज नहीं, क्योंकि उनको पता ही नहीं है, आई वोंट नेसेसरी से कि उसके पीछे कोई इविल थॉट है, उनको पता ही नहीं कि अच्छा पॉस्चर है क्या, और उन्होंने मॉडर्न कन्वीनियंस के चक्कर में जो ट्रेडिशनल चीजें हैं उन्होंने उनको साइड पे कर दिया है. तो द आइडियल थिंग टू डू, वेरी आइडियल थिंग इज कि आप कोई भी बैकरेस्ट ना यूज करें. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर अभी भी जहाँ मैं बैठा हूँ, स्टूल के ऊपर बैठा हूँ, मेरे पास कोई बैकरेस्ट नहीं है और मेरे डेफिनेटली स्पाइन थकता है इस तरह, फिर मैं खड़ा होता हूँ, थोड़ा स्ट्रेच करता हूँ, ठीक है, स्ट्रेचेस होते हैं, यू सिट बैक डाउन. मे बी दैट्स अ लॉन्ग टर्म गोल, बट अगर आप वो नहीं कर सकते तो उसका बेस्ट तरीका ये कि बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट बैक हो. जिस तरह अगर आप इस पिक्चर में देखेंगे ना, मे बी दिस इज अ गुड बेटर ऑप्शन कि उस पर स्ट्रेट बैक, बिल्कुल एक स्ट्रेट सा बैक हो. और कुशनिंग बहुत खराब चीज़ है, ये मैंने आगे भी से बोलना था. जो बहुत सॉफ्ट होते हैं ना आजकल, ये बहुत रिवॉल्विंग चेयर्स में हो गए, वो नरम होता है, सॉफ्ट पैडिंग होती है वगैरह, और लोग नॉर्मली कहते हैं कि बस वो उससे बड़ा मजा आता है बैठने का वगैरह. We're weakening our bodies. We don't realize that. I haven't been using. I can only give my personal examples. I use a standing desk, and when I do sit, I sit on a very hard surface. ताकि my muscles are engaged. जब आप किसी soft surface पे बैठते हैं ना, तो your muscles, they basically turn off. They're no longer engaged, and it puts all the pressure on your spine. So, and then think about it, right? You're sitting for 8 hours a day, and your spine is bearing all of the weight of your upper body. So we don't want to do that. So the ideal thing would be sit on a hard surface. And if you do want to use a backrest, it should be absolutely straight. And again, it shouldn't be very soft. ठीक हो गया? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
रहमान भाई
अच्छा, जी, an exercise ball, Farah Saiba कह रही हैं, an exercise ball is perfect as well. I also use an exercise ball. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You just have to make sure that the height of the exercise ball is correct, because you don't want your You don't want a T-Rex position. You don't want your elbows to be so high that you're uncomfortable. So there are different sizes of exercise balls, and the more air you put in it, the more challenging it is, the better it is as well. And I saw Sarah had a comment. I have low HP due to some health issues, and I get short breath during speedy exercises. Acha, Sarah, was this related to your question you already asked?
मैंने इससे पहले कोई क्वेश्चन तो आई डोंट थिंक मैंने आपसे पूछा था.
Acha. Low HP due to some health issues, and I get short breath during speedy exercises. Are there any breathing exercises to improve this? इसके लिए definitely breathing exercises हैं. मैं again क्योंकि इस आगे वर्कशॉप बहुत लंबा हो गया और अभी न्यूट्रिशन भी डिस्कस करना है. मैं इसमें अभी टाइम ही ज़्यादा लगा सकता मैं ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज की बात करूं, बट डेफिनेटली मैं आपको रिकमेंड करूंगा कि अगर आप कोई ब्रीदिंग पे बुक खरीदेंगी ना, खास तौर पे बुटेको मेथड के बारे में, तो उसमें इन सारी चीज़ों को कवर करते हैं कि किस तरह आपके इस तरह फॉर मल्टीपल थिंग्स, फॉर ब्लड प्रेशर के लोगों के लिए ब्रीदिंग किस तरह होनी चाहिए, स्लीप एपनी जिनको होता है उनके लिए ब्रीदिंग मेथड्स क्या हैं. सारों में थोड़े थोड़े वेरिएशंस होते हैं, बट they're all pretty much the same. So you can look into any one of those. अच्छा, how to reverse the sitting and posture damage already done for back especially and spine alignment. अच्छा, इसके लिए जो है ना हामिद भाई, you asked a perfect question. For that, I'll go to the next slide. What you need to do is you need to be doing some exercises. Oh, actually, wait. Sorry, that's for core. Achha, so when we talk about core, we'll get to that. Basically, oh, sorry, there's another question. I've tried nutritious movement exercises and they're very helpful. Sorry, nutritious movement. Can you explain that, Farah?
There's a biomechanic scientist called Katie Bowman. She has done a lot of work on nutritious movement. And she's got a lot of exercises which are free available on YouTube to follow. And they really help with the alignment of the body.
Got it. That's perfect. I mean, honestly, anyone, there's Kathleen Porter. There's a person you mentioned. There's another very famous one. I forget her name now. I think she's Indian from background. There are a lot of people. The point is to just find a good expert who's teaching you natural alignment or anything natural breathing, natural sleep, and follow that person. And that'll work wonders in every aspect of your life. Hamid bhai, so I'll discuss the different exercises that you can do, but the very first step to reverse that damage is, for example, to stop using your phone the way I'm saying, right? The way in that picture, that you need to make sure that your head doesn't go down. These kind of things will at least be a good starter. And then when you start exercising properly, when you start sleeping properly, it'll also help. Okay, so and in the interest of time, I'll try to speed through things a little bit. Please, guys, ask me questions where you feel like you don't understand what I'm saying. So basically, the key word for good posture is a straight spine. Even the head, right? Why was head alignment important? To keep a straight and healthy spine. So that's the key thing that we have to protect at all times. And one thing that disrupts a healthy spine is when you puff out your chest. So if you look at this second picture, the middle one, when you puff out your chest, which is considered, unfortunately, it's considered good posture in a lot of circles. What happens is you're compressing your spine and it causes pain in your spine. And the other way, when you have a hunched back, right, when you're slouching forward, what that does, again, it fights against gravity. Your spine is being overexerted to keep yourself straight. So what you want is a straight spine, if that makes sense. And actually, although this picture doesn't represent it, and I'll show you when I demonstrate myself, when you have a straight spine, it actually, and an elongated spine, you actually are bent forward a little bit. So actually a very humble position. And it reminds me, how the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, when he used to walk, he used to lean forward. And some people used to make fun of him about it as well. So it's just, alhamdulillah, a lot of things I've learned through this journey, they align perfectly with our own tradition as well. Acha, some of the exercises to help with to keep, to strengthen your upper back. Basically, what I'm talking about here is upper back that needs to be strong. So here's some exercises that you can do. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to try to show you all of these exercises one by one really quickly. So snow angels, this one, This is one that I recommended to my wife, and it worked wonders for her. So basically, what you do is that you sit against a wall, okay, or you're standing against a wall, and then you make sure your elbows don't move from the wall, away from the wall, and you move your hands all the way up and then back down. When you do this, it'll open up all the muscles in your back. It's kind of like flexibility, and also it's strength as well. And over time, when you get good at this, you can even add very light weights. So that can help strengthen your upper back, which will then help you keep a straight back. So Hamid bhai, that's one of the things you can start doing. If you feel that you're slouching forward, you can do snow angels. And if leaning against a wall is too hard, then you can also lay down and do this. That's the easiest way to do it. Then there's shoulder flossing. So if you have a resistance band, and you can grab this, and this is called shoulder flossing. You basically take it behind your back and then bring it forward again. Take it behind your back. This opens up your chest muscles. It kind of loosens up your shoulder muscles, and that's very important because your shoulders should not be forward. Another common issue that we have with people is that their shoulders are forward. The rest of their posture is fine, but then the shoulders are forward. So, shoulder flossing and then also snow angels. If you just do these two, then that's more than enough. I've added a few extra ones, wall push-ups, which you can do. You're against a wall, you're move, kind of like moving in and then pushing out. That's for people who can't do normal push-ups. Otherwise, normal push-ups are fine as well. And then resistance band exercises. So you take a resistance band and you um, pull it out straight and then back in. And then you can also do this to the side. So when you do this and you do it slow, you'll notice that you're engaging your back. So you're engaging those back muscles, strengthening them, and this will help keep your spine straight. So that's for your upper back. It's kind of the most important thing, I would say, because that straight spine is what helps you stay healthy throughout your entire life, even until old age. Okay, that brings me to the next concept, which is the pelvis. So the pelvis is basically, if I explain it, is basically what's connecting the upper body with the lower body. It's creating balance between the upper body and lower body, and it's an extremely important, it plays a lot of functions for our body, basically. So it's right here. If you look at it right here, right, this is the pelvis. So we have to make sure, again, our pelvis is aligned properly. And if you look at people, like this is an old lady who has her pelvis aligned. She's making sure that her spine is straight and she's bending using her pelvis. So unfortunately, what a lot of us are doing is that we're bending using our backs. So then our backs are curved. Sorry, I have a message. I was asking for everyone else. I don't have. Acha, theek hai. Sorry, Hamid bhai, I was really singling you out for a while. Acha, so basically the pelvis, we have to understand that again, when we look at mechanics, the best thing is that we move our body from our pelvis, not from our spine. Because again, what we want to do is we don't want to put any weight on our spine, right? And our pelvis, if you look at old people who are really agile, they're normally bending like this, straight spine, exactly. Okay, so I won't really get into the details of this, but basically, a lot of people when they pray, you'll notice that they kind of like they have their belly or their like their hips are forward. Hamida, you've probably noticed that in the mosque as well, or anyone else as well. Like when they're praying, they'll kind of like you can see my video. Just stop share for a second. You'll notice people will be praying like this. I notice this a lot in the mosque. So this is where your pelvis is not aligned, if that makes sense. What you have to make sure is that your pelvis is straight. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of people have this issue because when you're slouching, then your pelvis isn't straight, right? But if you get that, that's why I was saying the straight spine is the most important thing. If you get that spine straight, then your pelvis will be naturally aligned. But you want to make sure that it's not going forward. You want to make sure it's not to the side. You want to make sure it's absolutely straight. And then when you're picking something up, right? So what you're doing is you're keeping your back straight and picking something up. This is what makes sure that, dhuk par jati hai. Oh, I was picking something up and then I felt some pain in my spine. my back. This is what prevents it. So what you want to do is that you want to, sorry, I'm gonna have to show you this thing. So you want to open up your feet, and then you want to bend down. And when you do this, your back will be straight. And interestingly, my grandmother, my nano, who lives with us, she's 80 years old, and she actually does this. This is how she picks things up from the floor. And alhamdulillah, she's working, very regularly, even now. And her spine is always extremely straight. So she's never faced any back problems before. So that's the thing you want to focus on. That's kind of the key to this entire slide. Whether you're picking something up, and then again, if you're, for example, you're sitting down, right? What you want to do when you're sitting down is that you want to imagine that you're picking something up between your legs. When you do that, like, okay, I have to pick something up from my legs, and then I just sit down, right? So you can see, like, there's a chair, right? So picking something up, and then I sit down. So what that does then is it protects your spine again, and it puts all the pressure on your legs. And anyone who lifts weights will know that when you're doing deadlifts, when you're doing squats, you're actually supposed to use your legs, not your back. It's not your back. That's why people get injured doing deadlifts, because they're using their back too much. And then the same thing, if you want to try this at home as well, you imagine that you're picking something from between your legs, and then when you do that, you'll notice that your thighs are now engaged. And then you stand up, and it'll be all leg power rather than your spine. Because if you don't do that, if you just sit like this, stand up like this, sit like this, then your spine is being overused. But when you do this, stand up, then it's using your legs. Okay, moving on now. Core alignment. So basically, the core, when I talk about core, I mean the hips, I'm talking about the abdominal muscles, and I'm talking about the lower back. That area has to be very strong. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're, a mother, whether you're pregnant, whether, you're old, a strong core will ensure that you have longevity and you're able to move freely. Like for example, gymnasts who are doing all sorts of crazy things, their prime focus is on the core muscles as well. One very important thing about that is that for everyone, please stop stomach gripping. Does anyone understand what stomach gripping is?
No, I don't understand.
No. So stomach gripping means कि you're keeping your stomach in. So कहते हैं ना कि अच्छा वो पेट निकला हुआ है तो किसी को पता ना चले तो मैं पेट को टाइट करके अंदर कर दूं. That's called stomach gripping. So that is the absolute worst thing you can do for yourself, because what that does is that if you notice it, if you just try it right now, grip in your stomach, so it actually like kind of compresses everything inside, right? Like what I was saying, that everything has to be has its place, etc. So now you're gripping in your stomach, so you're forcing your body to not be relaxed. It's actually engaging your spine in a way that's not natural. So this is only something that we recently started doing because of media, right? Like media is telling us you need to have a six pack, you need to have a flat stomach. I definitely think you should have a flat stomach, because that's a sign that you're not overeating and you're active and you're healthy. But that doesn't mean you have to, like suck it in. That's just not the way to go about it, right? So please, anyone, this has become very common, especially in the West, where people just suck their stomach in all day, wear tight clothes, and then they suck their stomach in because they don't want people to know that they have a little extra belly fat. So please don't do that at all. The other thing is that six packs are extremely overrated. Six packs are purely aesthetic. They're only meant for fitness models. That's it. Just because they look good, even that is media driven. The abdominal, when I'm talking about strong abs, I'm not talking about these front abs. I think they're called rectus abdominis. What we're talking about is the transverse abdominis. That's the muscle fiber that actually wraps around your spine, and you can't see it. You can have a very strong transverse abdominis, and you can have a stomach that's actually a little, protruding. It has nothing to do with a flat stomach. It's an inner strength that you have, and that's what really matters. That's what will keep you healthy. That's what gymnasts are focusing on. That's what boxers are focusing on. So that's what we need to focus on. Like working on a six pack you'll work, because I've been through that phase, you'll maybe add an extra 30 minutes a day to your exercise regime to get that six pack for a year. And even then to maintain it, it's crazy as well. And it's not really worth it, at the end of the day, because actually having a six pack, when you do that, you are over strengthening certain muscles in the front of your body. Okay. And what that does is, again, it creates muscle imbalances. So a lot of people with six packs actually have back pain, so that's what we have to understand. A lot of people who look strong actually have muscular pains. One person who I visit frequently, he's a balance therapist. He works on postural alignment. And he tells me that a lot of his clients are actually trainers. They're people training other people, but they have issues in their shoulders, issues in their backs, etc. So we have to, again, be very clear that working out does not mean, or looking strong does not mean that you have good posture. Okay, so how do you have a strong core strength? I've written 5 exercises down here: bird dog, glute bridges, planks, farmer's walks, and dead bug. Any one of these is a great exercise. If you can just pick up 2 or 3 of these exercises and do them daily, it'll take not more than 10 minutes, and you do this daily, you'll be fixing, or you'll be strengthening your transverse abdominis, which is what really matters. The dead bug is a really famous one. This one is really great. Glute bridges will also work on your glutes. I love farmers walks because if you're athletic, if you want to work out, what you can do is you can pick up 20 pounds, for example, in one hand, and you can just start walking and stay straight. And then your body is forced to stabilize it. And that creates a very strong core. So these are some of the exercises I'll recommend for anyone who wants a strong core. Something, like especially for ladies at home who don't find the time to go to a gym, etc. These are all, you can do all these at home. Even the exercises that I showed previously, uh, the snow angels, shoulder fastening, wall push-ups, etc. You can do all of this at home. No weights necessary. Even like if you have like a couple of things at home, like for example, you have a chair or something, you can just, or baby's like a cot or something, you can just pick it up in one hand and you can do a farmer's walk. And you can just wake up in the morning, spend 10 or 20 minutes, do these exercises, and you're done for the entire day. It's a lot better than, not going to the gym. It's a lot better than trying to force in exercise if you're too busy, if you have young kids. Just spend 20 minutes a day doing these fundamental posture exercises, and then inshallah, you'll be fit for life. Actually, the last thing I'll talk about is the feet. And there's one thing I wrote about the feet. It's basically that our feet are made up of 26 bones, 33 joints, and a complex network of over 100 tendons, muscles, ligaments, blood vessels, and nerves. So basically, this small foot is a piece of art. It is, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, it's an unbelievable technology that Allah has given us, this foot. All the things that are involved in this is one small foot, and the sad thing is that we wear these Nike shoes or any branded shoes that claim to be the best technology, and then we think that we have better feet now. Do you get what I mean? Like, we're wrapping our feet around something that claims to be the best technology, when Allah has already given us the best technology. A lot of indigenous tribes, they don't even wear shoes. They naturally just walk around, and maybe we can't do that, but we can still wear flat shoes, and we should try to stay barefoot as much as possible in our lawns, at home, try to not wear chappal as much, your slippers as much, and try to keep your feet open, that'll make them broader, that'll let them move into their natural size. And also that'll make them stronger, very strong. When you have strong feet, you have strong ankles. And actually, most of the issues that you'll face with your back, even up all the way up to your neck, they actually start with your feet. Or use barefoot shoes, exactly. I've been using barefoot shoes for a while as well. That's perfect. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, you don't get them. I've searched like crazy. But if anyone can get them, then that's perfect, buying barefoot shoes from abroad. Actually, the options that you can use is Kolhapuri. Those are what I use. They're extremely fat. And then for women, Kuse as well. They're really flat as well. You can wear those. They're a great option as well. But most other shoes, dress shoes, joggers as well, they're really not that great. I prefer jogging, running in a park, barefoot, rather than, yes, exactly, the toe box needs to be wide. Well, with Kolhapuri, they're not covered, so there's no width at all. Exactly, no heels. So what you're doing, again, you think about it, right, Sana? If like naturally your foot is supposed to be flat, right? So what's happening if you have a raised heel, right? So what you're doing then is you're taking the weight and you're putting it on the balls of your feet, and you're forcing your feet into a position that they're not necessarily meant to be in. Like what it comes down to is Allah has designed us a certain way, right? So that's how we should use our bodies. And even if you look in like what older societies used, they weren't using fat soles. They were using moccasins, which are leather shoes, again, completely flat. This is a very recent phenomenon as well, which has been overhyped by a lot of brands. I won't really take their names. So that's how it is. Sarah, you had a question. I think Sarah Imran, you had a question.
I wanted to ask this question ke, since some time I've noticed ke, if I walk around for a long time barefoot, I have a mild pain in my feet. And I've noticed that कि अगर मैं ग्रास वगैरह पे वॉक करूँ या जैसे जो कच्ची ज़मीन होती है उस पे ये इशू नहीं होता है, लेकिन जैसे हमारे सीमेंटेड या मार्बल जो इंडोर्स होते हैं, तो आई एम नॉट कंफर्टेबल वॉकिंग फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम barefoot. And I cannot manage using जैसे कोल्हापुरी चप्पल्स वगैरह होते हैं ना, क्योंकि उनकी सोल बहुत पतली और थोड़ी सी हार्ड होती है. I prefer using soft chappals. They're flats, but like even the sandals which I use for jogging or walking, I use the sports sandals. So I'm not comfortable barefoot for a long time. So is there an issue with me? I have to check with it. I should check it, or is it normal?
Acha, that's a very hard question because I would have to meet you to give you 100% answer. But there are some things that maybe, for example, if you are, for example, overweight, then that can cause a lot of pressure on your feet. So that's one thing that can maybe be causing pain in your feet. The other thing is that you might have weak feet in general, So that's why when you're walking on grass, you're able to bear it because again, the weight that's going down into your feet, there's a small cushion because of the grass, right? So then you're able to bear that weight. And then when you go on a hard surface, then basically that weight isn't able to spread. Okay, you're not overweight. It could even be like, it can be several things, it can just be, maybe there are certain, that's why I would say that, not everything is a medical condition. Maybe, for example, you have strong calves, and, they're kind of overbearing the rest of your, thighs, etc. I won't get into complications of that. That'll be a very long, conversation. Maybe I shouldn't even brought that up. But the idea is that it's okay. You don't have to do anything. You can just keep walking barefoot on grass, and try it a little bit and see over time, is it getting better or not? I would say that's more than enough. If you get into complications, go for MRIs, etc. Then again, a doctor will ask you to go to a physiotherapist, etc. I don't think that's necessary. I think if there is any issue, it'll naturally heal over time. You can maybe start walking more barefoot. Maybe like you can say, okay, I'll walk 30 minutes for barefoot, rather than for just 10 minutes. And you'll build that resistance over time. Sana Hanif had a comment, walking barefoot on beach sand, which has soft texture, sinking kind of experience. Yes, exactly. That's fine as well. Actually, that's better because your foot is now forced to balance itself. The softer the texture that you're walking in, your foot is actually balancing itself. And that's one of the beautiful things about our feet. They're doing 1,000 things at the same time. We don't even realize it. We're just walking, but Allah has, given us this amazing design which we're definitely ungrateful for, right? So that's actually better for you to strengthen your feet if you walk on imbalanced, uneven surfaces. For example, grass, for example, sand. And trail running is also a concept. If anyone can do trail running, that means that you're running on grass, you're running maybe on a mountain, etc. That's great for you as well. Okay. Going back to the presentation. So one thing I wanted to talk about is where you bear the weight. So basically the weight goes to, like I was telling Sana, Faruqi as well, the weight is supposed to go to your heels, not to the balls of your feet. Ye aapka panja hai. This is basically your claws. right? Just like your hands, your fingers are doing the moving and the manipulating, right? And then if you think about it, your palms are where you can put weight. If anyone has done push-ups or handstands, they'll understand what I'm talking about. So basically, all the weight goes to this joint rather than to these small, intricate muscles. Okay, and when you do that, it'll help with your knee pain, it'll help with your back pain. I personally, to tell you, just 3 months ago, I was experiencing back pain while using my standing desk. And just one thing I changed is I started putting more weight on my heels, and the pain disappeared. Even it can even go all the way up to your neck. So that's one thing that you should definitely be looking into, where the weight is going. And then I'll just again, I'll try to stop sharing and I'll show you some things that you can do. Okay, for your feet, right? So basically, and everyone can please try this with me. I think that'll be really helpful. So if you can all see my feet now, right? So basically, the weight goes to your heel, right? So, and it goes to two places actually, to your heel and to the outside of your foot. So that's how you balance it. Because obviously, if all the weight is on your heel and you're not using your the ball of your feet as well, then you'll basically tumble. So what you do is that you stand straight, okay? Feet are kind of like 1 foot apart, and then you kind of like grip into the floor with your toes, okay? And then you move your heel in slightly, just like 1 inch, you know? And if you can try that, if anyone can comment, like you'll feel all the weight move to your heels. Can someone try that and let me know how that goes?
Can you please repeat it again?
Sure. 1 second. Yeah, so what you do is इसको मैं थोड़ा सा समझाता हूँ आपने ना अपने पंजों को यहाँ पे ग्रिप करने अंदर ठीक है सो देयर इन फर्मली ओके और फिर आपका जो यहाँ हील है ये थोड़ा सा अंदर हो जाएगा डज दैट मेक सेंस यू डोंट मूव योर इनको नहीं हिलाना पंजों को सिर्फ आपने अपने हील को पीछे से स्लाइड सा हिलाना है इसको और इसको तो आपको नजर आएगा कि आपका ना आर्क भी ज्यादा हो गया है पैर के बीच में कैन यू गिव इट अ शॉट
आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि वी ट्राई टू स्लाइड द हील्स
यस
अहेड फॉरवर्ड विदाउट मूविंग द टोज, ये कहना चाह रहे हैं आप?
एग्जैक्टली जी जी बिल्कुल ही
राइट।
बिल्कुल ही so immediately what you realize and please let me know if you're not able to do that immediately what you realize when you do that is that all the weight of your body will move to your heels you'll actually feel your heels being a lot more heavier so
आई कैन
basically
फील द टेंशन इन द मसल्स ऑफ द मतलब लेग के मसल्स में तो टेंशन फील हो रही है। आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द हील्स राइट नाउ।
got it अच्छा legs में भी feel होगी क्योंकि इसमें एक और चीज है your knees should never be bent in your knee should be always a little bit out because again the way we're designed mechanically our joints when our knees are out our knee joint is aligned with our ankle joint and that again like for people who don't really work out that much you don't really need to work out that much if you just understand the concept the ideology behind or the philosophy behind posture right then you'll be fit inshallah for life you can teach this to your elders to your parents you can teach it to kids and they'll be strong as well so again, I'll just show it once more. I think it's really hard to actually teach this online via Zoom. But basically, ठीक है ना आपके जो टो फिंगर्स हैं वो सारे यहाँ पे मजबूती से अंदर है और आपका सिर्फ हील अंदर की तरफ आ गया है इधर का भी और इधर का भी ठीक है ना और आपको नजर भी आएगा कि आपका आर्क बढ़ गया है पैर में ठीक है तो बेसिकली इवन इफ यू कैन डू दैट इसके ये आदत डाल दें कि योर weight your entire body's weight is on your heels that's all you need to do okay okay so what happens when you do that you have arched feet why is that important let me share my screen Acha. So do you all see this arc right here these two
Yes.
pillars, right? Yeah. So basically, arcs are used in with bridges, with buildings to build a lot of stability. So that's the same concept with our feet. Basically, it's not supposed to be a huge arc, obviously, but our feet need to have a small arc in them. They can't be flat. Arched feels useful. Exactly, exactly. Yahya is saying arched feet are extremely useful in walking as well. So basically, that's what we want to ensure when we do that exercise that I showed you guys, where you grip the floor and then you move your heels, your feet will naturally be arched as well. So basically, the concept you have to remember for your feet is put all the weight on your heels and then grip the floor with your toes. You're actually gripping. When you do that gripping, you'll have an arc and you'll actually feet your toe. You'll feel your feet on the surface on the floor. You actually it's kind of like the touching sensation. You'll actually be more mindful of what you're walking on, and you'll have a lot more balance as well. And just doing this will probably take away 95% of your postural issues. This is probably the number one thing for your posture. I'm sorry, I've said that for spine as well, for head as well. These are all these things that are very interconnected because the human body is just so beautifully interconnected. So a lot of these things are just very important. Acha, really quickly, I'm going to go through some general recommendations. Like I already said, please do not use sofas. Please stop using sofas and highly padded chairs. Sit on the floor. I'm not saying throw out your sofas. If you have guests over, sit on a sofa. If you're getting tired, sit on a sofa. Sometimes I come home from work, I'm really stressed, I'm really upset at what happened. I just sit on the sofa for a while, I give myself a break, and then I sit on the floor again. But the idea is that sitting on sofas, they just create too much imbalances. They just don't let your body be in the natural positions. It just weakens us too much. Office ergonomics, that's the question I think someone asked about where your head needs to be placed, right? So if you look at these two pictures here, if you look at the guy on the top, right, the screen is not aligned. The screen should be straight. You should always looking in the top 1/3 of your screen. So your head is absolutely straight. Again, it doesn't cause that bowling ball effect. Got it? And then also your spine should be straight. And your elbows will be close to your body and they'll be around a 90-degree angle. It doesn't have to be exactly 90, but the idea is that they're around a 90-degree angle because what that does, if even you try it right now, it doesn't put pressure on your shoulders or on your back or on your elbows. But if you raise your hands too high or too low, then it creates imbalances. And then also the knees. Okay, one question that you might be thinking is, this is so mechanical. We're not robots. Why do we have to sit like robots? The thing is that we are unfortunately living in a very mechanical life now, right? Like we're sitting on these desks, right? They're not flexible. We have these screens that are not flexible. So unfortunately, we also have to sit now in ways that where we adjust accordingly. We can't just sit reclining, etc., all the time. It'll actually harm us. So that's why we have to be a little mechanical about this, and you might even feel like a robot. So what you can do, just look up our office ergonomics, point number 2, and they'll tell you a lot about standing desks. They'll tell you about even lighting. How much light should you have above you when you're working? Um, and especially your head position, etc. So that'll be really helpful as well. Stretch often if you're sitting. So if you do have to work 8 hours a day and you're sitting a lot, get up. There's an app called iCare. There are a lot of apps out there where after every 30 minutes, they'll tell you can set the time actually, but they'll tell you, okay, close your eyes, okay, make a diamond shape with your eyes, okay, stretch a little bit. So you can do that as well. That constant stretching eliminates stiffness. That's the kind of concept behind it. You can stand up, even some people, if you're at work and you feel uncomfortable standing up, you can even do stretches while sitting down. You can look up desk stretches, on YouTube, and you can find a ton of great stuff. And then reclining while sitting. Like I said to Sana as well, you don't want to recline too much because your core is engaged when you're straight, but your core is not engaged when you let all of the effort, you let all of your muscles relax and you just recline back. So you want to try to recline less. Um, what you can also do is put a cushion between you and, for example, if you're sitting on a sofa or some guest home, what I normally do is I take cushions and I put them on my upper back so that my back is completely straight, if that makes sense. Okay, floor sitting. When you sit on the floor, it strengthens your spine again, and then what it does is makes your body flexible. Why? Because when you're sitting on the floor, right, the floor has no give. The floor isn't flexible, right? So it forces your body to become flexible so that it can sit in this position for longer. So sitting on the floor is like extremely good for you, extremely good for your health. That's something you should be doing all the time. And then diaphragmatic breathing. Like I said before, when you are breathing deep into your stomach, you'll realize like if I can't breathe deep into my stomach, that means that my posture is wrong. Okay, just to finish off, this is the last slide on posture, or actually last two. Okay, resting squat, basically this position, which we all have now unfortunately associated with just the bathroom. And actually now people, because of commodes, we don't even associate this with the bathroom anymore. But basically, this is an extremely important position. What this does is that it strengthens our groin area and then our spine as well. It kind of like what it does is it puts a lot of pressure on our spine, but kind of good pressure, not a kind of bad pressure. You know, it's great for our ankles. It's great for our knees. This is one of the one things. If you just start doing this, you'll notice a lot of your issues in your knees, in your ankles, in your legs will just go away. And everyone should be doing this about 30 minutes a day, at least, sitting like this. Even if you're going to the bathroom, you should be sitting like this. This is the natural way to sit to go to the bathroom. Again, because of modern conveniences, we now think that sitting on a commode is natural, is the right thing to do, but it's not. If you just look this up, the issues with commodes and all the issues with digestion and other removing toxins, all of the health issues that are caused by commodes, you just realize that sitting like this is a perfect way for not just the bathroom, but even in general. For example, you're using your phone, drinking water, you can sit like this. This is one thing that if you do, it'll eliminate a lot of your postural problems. Okay, and then also using a PD. So the same thing, there's this kid right now, he's sitting on this PD. If you can see it to your left, right? Below all of the text. So sitting on a PD, which is about 6 inches, 1 foot high, again, it engages your groin, it engages your spine. It's a lot better. And when you sit on a PD for an hour, when you get long, so that kind of shows how bad these couches are, you know, because, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, now we can. The
Yes,
part
we
about
can hear you.
PD,
Yeah.
Which part did you lose me at?
जो आप पीडी के बारे में बताए थे ना कि जब उस पे बैठते हैं तो how it helps.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल तो जो पीडी है ना, when you sit on a PD, it's the same concept as a resting squat, where your groins are stretched, your spine is engaged, and so it strengthens your lower body, all of it, and it strengthens your spine as well. So when you sit on a PD for an hour, if you ever try it, and again at home we have PDs for everyone. We have it for our kids, we have it for my wife, for myself. It's a little harder for elders, obviously. But if you sit on a PD, after you get up after 30 minutes, you'll actually feel a lot of pain in your lower back. But that's not a bad pain. That's the kind of pain you're getting because you're engaging your back in a way that you haven't done ever. And it's a way that you should be engaging your lower back. So that's what it's actually doing, is strengthening your spine. Okay, so moving on now, slings. Right here, this picture of a dad with his baby in a sling. This is great for your baby, great for their postural alignment, for their spine. Prems and car seats are just terrible. If you ever just take a moment and carefully look at how your prems and car seats are designed, they just are not good for your baby's posture. And even if they're flat, they're too soft, you know. And then what happens on in these prems and car seats is that your kid's neck is always to the side. So overall, they're just really bad for your posture and for your spine. So if you can start using slings, especially fathers, that would be great. Um, a lot of posture experts also recommend riding horses for our kids, if we want to think of an activity for them. You know, riding horses is amazing. If you think about it, right, what's happening is you're opening up your legs and your back has to be absolutely straight, right? So it's strengthening your spine again, and it's strengthening your pelvic floor as well. So that'll do wonders for your posture long run. And you can even buy like toy horses if you can't afford, you know, horse riding, or if it's not available for you. You can buy a toy horse and you can just sit on it. And for us elders, riding bikes, that's great as well, as a replacement. Although it's not exactly the same thing, obviously, but you can think about it as maybe giving you 30% of those benefits. If you're pregnant or if you have children, young children, you need to be very careful about your posture because you're picking up these children in all these different angles, right? You're picking up a child in your hand and you're making tea, right? While your guests are waiting for you. So these kind of things, you're putting a lot of burden on your body, um, and that's the kind of stuff that and ends up resulting in upper back pain, middle back pain. So being careful about all the stuff I talked about, especially when I talked about the bending, this stuff for ladies as well, it's very important. The way you bend, it's extremely important because it'll protect your spine. Because I know you have to move a lot at home, right? And then also try to avoid washing dishes. Or if you are washing dishes, uh, keep a chair and put your foot on that because when you're washing dishes, what position does it remind you of? It's kind of like this position right here. It's kind of like this position where your head is bowed down and you're using your hands to wash dishes, right? And you can't even do what I was saying, like stretch forward in that case, right? So it's putting a lot of pressure on your head, and that's why a lot of women, because unfortunately, like a lot of women are doing most of the dishes. So that's why I'm saying women, but even men who do dishes, like it'll cause a lot of pain in the back. So one way to counter that, the ideal thing, if you again go back to traditional societies, they would sit on the floor and wash dishes. But obviously, our houses aren't designed that way now. Again, for aesthetics, not for functionality. So what you can do is keep a chair and then keep alternating for 2-3 minutes. Keep your right chair, right leg, or your right foot on the PD or chair, and then move to your left foot. That'll really work wonders for removing back pain when you're washing dishes. Acha, I think we've covered everything. I think I've already practiced sitting. We haven't practiced leaning back, but standing. I'll just go through walking and leaning back. I think we've done everything else as well. And then I think I'll open up the floor for any questions. Okay, if you all can see me. So basically, um, actually I'll go through sitting as well. So one thing you have to be careful about when you sit is, this is very important, that you need to not sit on your hips. You cannot, like, if you just try this right now yourself as well, when you're sitting, are you sitting like this? Is your, you can see this, right? Are you sitting on your hips and especially on your sit bones? Those two bones on top of your legs, right? Are you sitting directly on them? What this does is that it puts all this pressure on your lower back, or are you sitting straight? So if you're sitting like this, what normally happens is that you're not engaging your pelvic. Remember I was talking about the pelvic? How you engage that pelvic is by you engaging the lower part of your hamstrings, or like you can see the back of your thighs. So if you take your hand and you put it right beneath your hips, right, for both sides, these muscles need to be engaged. So when you sit like this, naturally it'll be very easy for you to effortlessly sit with good posture, right? But then again, if your pelvic is rotated this way and you're sitting on your sit bones, right? You, it's basically about being mindful. A lot of people have never thought about this. They just sit down and they're like this, right? And then it's impossible to maintain good posture that way. But if you just lean a little forward and you just make sure that your legs are also engaged, the top of your legs, that's it. Now I'm doing nothing. Naturally, my spine is straight, my lower back is straight, my shoulders are straight. I'm feeling no pressure at all. So it's very important to sit like this, if you want to give it a shot as well. And then a lot of people are going to be saying that, this guy's crazy, he's saying you don't lean back or recline. That's going to be pretty hard. So the way around that is what you can do is that you can, so what you do again, now you're in this position, right, that I've told you guys. Now you take your upper back and you recline on it. I don't have, actually I can just maybe show you guys. Sorry. I think I need a cameraman for my second. But basically, like now I'm sitting, right? And again, if you guys see this couch that we have, we especially got this made. It's only 16 inches from the floor. So again, because of that, my groins are naturally, my legs are naturally engaged even when I'm sitting, right? So I can just sit forward. It's easier to sit like this rather than when you're sitting higher. But even if you are sitting higher or in any position, if you want to recline, so what you do is that you take the upper back and you put it down first, and then you just sit back rather than just mindlessly just sitting like this, right? And now your lower back is all it's all kind of like out of balance and stuff. If you just keep that straight back and then just you go back, right? It's a little harder when you have to recline way back. So the way to do that is take a cushion, put it on your upper back, and that's it. You can have perfect posture this way. So if you're just mindful about this, again, it'll reduce the wear and tear of your spine, make you feel a lot better. And then with walking, I'll just quickly show walking, and then we'll wrap up. So basically, what you want to do is when you walk, you want to make sure your heels hit first and then your feet. Okay, that's very important because, again, like I said, these are meant for balance. This is meant for weight bearing. So when you're walking, you always want to make sure that your heels hit first and then your feet, and then when you go the next heel, right? So these are some basic tips that you can even look up online on good posture for walking, etc. And this will really help. Okay, I guess we'll end the session for today because it's already been too long. Thank you all for bearing with me for so long. Is there any question that anyone had?
We can have 5 minutes of questions, yeah. So we can wrap it up by 5. Abdurrahman, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Ji Farah?
Gee, Assalamu alaikum. You're saying about washing dishes. I didn't understand that point. So if I'm standing in front of the sink, where do I put the chair?
You will want to put it to your side, right? You obviously you
Okay.
can't, there's no space between you, right? So what that'll do is that'll open up your leg and it'll also, do you get what I mean? So the idea is to engage your spine. The idea is to engage your legs. You can move it around. If you get tired from one position, you can move it to another position.
Okay.
That's the whole idea behind it.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
मेरा क्वेश्चन जो है वो बच्चों के लिए है कि जैसे आपने कहा ना कि प्रैम वगैरह दे आर नॉट गुड फॉर बेबीज तो इन आवर हाउस होल्ड वुमेन जो हैं उनको बच्चों को साथ मूव करना पड़ता है लाइक इफ दे गोइंग टू द किचन और हियर एंड देयर तो मुस्तकिल उनको कैरी करना विद जो कैरी बैग्स होता है तो इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट मदर बहुत जल्दी एग्जॉस्ट हो सकती है ना तो I'm not sure कि ये relevant है लेकिन do you think you have a better idea other than the pram?
I think वो स्लिंग्स का इसलिए कॉन्सेप्ट था ना, वो जो स्लिंग्स थे ना जो आपकी बॉडी के साथ, हाँ मैं समझ रहा हूँ, अगर आप घर में काम करें तो स्लिंग भी पॉसिबल नहीं होगा। आप घर के अंदर कह रही हैं, आप घर के बाहर कह रही हैं?
मैं घर के अंदर पूछी हूँ in the house क्योंकि like if you're living in the house तो आपको कमरे से जाना है, किचन में जाना है, लाउंज में जाना है, ऊपर जाना है, नीचे जाना है, here and there तो मतलब इवन ऑन दिस मतलब एक सेम फ्लोर पे प्रैम इज कन्वीनियंट कि आप फ्लैट उसको फ्लैट जो पोजीशन होती है ना जिसमें बच्चा बिल्कुल फ्लैट स्ट्रेट लेटा हुआ होता है तो उसमें मूव करना आसान होता है, अंदर जा रहे हैं बाहर जा रहे हैं लेकिन फुल टाइम उनको बैग में कैरी बैग में आप उनको अपने फ्रंट में या बैक पे लेके आप घूमें तो मदर्स के लिए थोड़ा एग्जॉस्टिंग हो जाता है ना।
देखिए वो मैं एक बात कहूंगा इसमें बारे में कि जो बच्चे हैं ना, हम इनको अनफॉर्चुनेटली बहुत पैम्पर कर रहे हैं। ये अगर मेरा पर्सपेक्टिव में भी मुझसे सब एग्री नहीं करेंगे, बट बच्चों को हम बहुत पैम्पर कर रहे हैं। तो बेसिकली क्योंकि मेरी वाइफ भी को सुन रही है अभी, तो उन्होंने मुझे पिछले 4 सालों से बहुत बार कहा कि प्रेम ले लो, और हमेशा मैंने उनका नहीं लेना। तो वो शायद मुझसे बहुत डिसएग्री करेंगे इस बात पे, बट बेसिकली जो है ना, बात यह है कि बच्चे अडेप्ट कर जाते हैं। तो जो हमारे बेटी भी अभी 1 साल की, वो क्रॉल करती है, जगह जगह क्रॉल करती है, हर कमरे में क्रॉल कर रही थी हमारे पीछे। तो हम उनको कहते हैं बच्चों को हमारे पीछे आओ, या जब बच्चे थोड़े बड़े हो जाते हैं हम कहते हैं हमारे पीछे वॉक करो, क्योंकि हम अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम इस तरह के मॉडर्न लाइफ में रह रहे हैं कि हमारे बच्चों को हिलने का मौका ही नहीं मिल रहा। और आई थिंक अभी मैं जब सबको यहाँ देख रहा हूँ, आई थिंक मे बी ऑल ऑफ यू नो अबाउट सलमान आसिफ साहब, राइट? तो वो तो ये बात कह रहे हैं कि दिन में बच्चा 6 घंटे खेले, 6 घंटे बाहर रहे, और मसला ये हो रहा है कि हम बच्चे को बिल्कुल भी फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं दे रहे। तो आई वुड से कि आइडियल ये है कि आप बच्चे को ना प्रेम वगैरह में डालने के बजाय, हाँ अगर बहुत छोटा बच्चा है, मुझे शायद आप समझ आ रहे हैं आप क्या कह रही हैं, तो उसका तरीका ये होता है कि अपने बच्चे को ना अपने बिल्कुल साथ लगाएं, अपने साइड पे ना इधर साथ लगा के रखें, ताकि आपकी कमर स्ट्रेट है और आप वॉक कर सकें। उससे जो है आपके थकावट कम होती है। तो ये मेरे पर्सपेक्टिव में ना, यानी कि आई एम वेरी हार्डकोर अबाउट दिस कि प्रेम और ये चीजें नहीं लेनी। उससे द रीजन इज बिकॉज क्योंकि आपने एक बार जब ले लिया ना, फिर वो इस्तेमाल होता ही होता है। तो आप समझिए मेरी बात, फिर वो बहुत मुश्किल होता है कि अच्छा।
मैं आपकी बात समझ गई। आई वाज जस्ट आस्किंग कि उन बच्चों के लिए ना जो अभी वॉक नहीं कर रहे हैं या क्रॉल भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल जो 3 to 4 months तक के बच्चे होते हैं ना, तो
सही
उनके
सही
लिए
सही।
एक्चुअली पूछ रही थी।
ठीक। अच्छा
ठीक है,
हमने तो फिर वो,
जज़ाकल्लाह।
जी हमने बस वो स्ट्रगल करके हमने वो टाइम गुजार लिया, बट आई अंडरस्टैंड हर किसी के लिए ऑब्वियसली डिफरेंट है। मे बी आपकी मुश्किल होगी, मे बी हेल्प ना हो, बहुत फैक्टर्स होते हैं। तो आई कैन ओनली गिव माई परस्पेक्टिव ऑब्वियसली। अच्छा फरहान ने भी एक बात की थी विच इज एब्सोल्युटली ट्रू, आई डिडंट रियली टॉक अबाउट इट इन दिस सेशन, बट बेयरवुड, अगर आप घास में या सैंड में किसी भी सरफेस पे आप बेयरफुट वॉक करते हैं तो ग्राउंडिंग भी होती है। तो बेसिकली कुछ ऐसे इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फील्ड्स हैं हमारे दुनिया के अंदर, जो कि हमें बहुत बेनिफिट करती हैं जब वो हमारे अंदर जाते हैं। क्योंकि आप सबको पता होगा वी आल्सो मेड अप ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी। हमारे जरिए हमारे अंदर इतनी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का एक लाइट बल्ब जो है ना वो लाइट हो सकता है। तो बेसिकली वी आल्सो नीड दैट इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फ्लो दैट्स वेरी नेचुरल फॉर अस। तो वो रुक जाता है जब हम रबर के जूते पहनते हैं, जब हम सीमेंट पे वॉक करते हैं। तो जो नॉन पोरस सर्फेसेस होते हैं ना, रबर सीमेंट वगैरह, उसके थ्रू ये इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक फील्ड्स ट्रांसफर नहीं करते। तो इसलिए बहुत जरूरी है कि आप एटलीस्ट 30 मिनट्स अ डे आप नंगे पैर आप जो है ना घास में जाएं और घास में बैठें। चाहे वो घास हो, चाहे वो मिट्टी हो, चाहे वो सैंड हो, चाहे वो पानी हो, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। जो मार्बल फ्लोर्स के बारे में जो है ना, आई थिंक मैंने भी इस पे रिसर्च की थी, मेरे घर में भी मार्बल फ्लोर्स हैं। आई डोंट थिंक मार्बल फ्लोर्स लेट दोस फ्यूल्स गो थ्रू। आई थिंक वो भी पोरस नहीं है। वो बेसिकली आइडिया होता है ना कि पोर्स होने चाहिए। नहीं, स्विमिंग पूल्स डोंट काउंट, बिकॉज स्विमिंग पूल्स के नीचे इतना बड़ा कंक्रीट है ना। हाँ नेचुरल स्विमिंग जो है ना, अगर आप लेक में जा रही हैं वगैरह, ऑब्वियसली औरतों के लिए थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, बट नेचुरल वाटर वाले एनवायरनमेंट्स, लेक्स, बीचेस वगैरह वहां पे होते हैं। हाँ जी, ओनली बीचेस। क्योंकि मकसद ये है कि वो दुनिया से निकलना है, अर्थ के अंदर से, इसको अर्थिंग भी कहते हैं। अर्थ से निकल के वो इलेक्ट्रिक मैग्नेटिक फील्ड्स हमारे से कनेक्ट करते हैं और हमारे अंदर से बहुत टॉक्सिन्स निकालते हैं, हमें बहुत ज्यादा ना एनर्जी देते हैं। So these are the things which, why are we developing cancers, etc.? Because we don't realize all these things that we can be doing, which make a huge difference for us. But हमें पता ही नहीं होता, unfortunately, again ये बोली बात है, इसको monetize नहीं हो सकते। इट्स वेरी सिंपल ना, अगर आप 30 मिनट्स अ डे आप बाग में बैठना शुरू कर दें, अगर आपकी आधी बीमारियां गायब हो जाएंगी, तो फिर फार्मास्यूटिकल्स कहाँ जाएंगे, हॉस्पिटल्स कहाँ जाएंगे? तो इसलिए इन चीज़ों पे ना इतनी अनफॉर्चुनेटली बात नहीं होती। एड्स वगैरह, ज़्यादातर चीज़ें वो इस बात पे बात नहीं करते। इवन जो आपके मीडिया जो है ना, वो ज्यादा चीजें वो क्या दिखाते हैं, नॉर्मल लाइफ। आई एम नॉट सेइंग मीडिया इज डेफिनेटली अगेंस्ट यू, बट मीडिया तो वही बता रहे हैं जो जिस बारे में उनके पास इंफॉर्मेशन है। तो इफ पीपल इन द मीडिया थिंक दैट ओ yes sorry Hamid bhai, I know I'm really going over, I'm just going to finish with this top one thing. तो अगर इवन मीडिया में अगर लोगों को पता ही नहीं अर्थिंग के बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं, तो उन्होंने तो यही कहना है ना कि अस्पताल जाएं जी, अस्पताल जाएं, अस्पताल दिखाएंगे टीवी में। और जिस तरह होता है ना, आपका कोई फैमिली मेम्बर है जिसको नहीं पता कि आप न्यूट्रिशन हेल्दी यानी कि ऑर्गेनिक लिविंग का क्या फायदा है, वो आपको मे बी आउट ऑफ नेचुरल गुड फेथ ही कह रहा है कि अच्छा ये चीज़ आप इस्तेमाल कर लें, ये मेडिसिन आपको हेल्प कर लेगा। और आपके अंदर ये है कि नहीं, मैं तो मेडिसिन यूज नहीं करता या करती। तो उनका पर्सपेक्टिव कभी कभी डिफरेंट होता है। बट ये है, द मोर वी कीप रिसर्चिंग these things, the more we learn this stuff, then inshallah we can live very healthy lives without going to doctors. Alhamdulillah, personally, me and my wife now, my children were only going to Hakims. We're not going to doctors anymore. It's been about 6 months now, I think, or maybe a year now. And we're using their kind of, not medications, but Sharbat Fulad वगैरह, if people know about it, like iron, rather than iron supplements, naturally extracted iron, etc. So you can move towards those things. It's just like a constant effort learning this stuff. ठीक है, चलें, I think I've kept you all for very long. Um, very sorry for making this very long. और इंशाल्लाह nutrition पे और sleep पे इंशाल्लाह फिर कोशिश करते हैं हम अगला सेशन कर लें. Hopefully you can all make it for that as well. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair. It was a very beneficial session. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.